Hi guys, I'm Naomi from Jealous of the Birds and welcome to episode 5 of Jealous of the Bops. In this episode we're going to talk about The Madcap Laughs by Syd Barrett and Mug Museum by Cate. This is actually the first Jealous of the Bops episode of 2019, which is super cool. I hope you all had a gorgeous Christmas and New Year. And I hope this year goes really sweet for you. I got my coffee, which is really good. And I'm ready to talk about some records. So Syd Barrett actually had a pretty intriguing and kind of a tragic life, actually. He was the lead singer and guitarist of Pink Floyd in the early days, but had to leave in the late 60s due to kind of poor mental health and drug abuse. He was known to have schizophrenia and Asperger's syndrome, and that combined with his kind of use of LSD and a lot of narcotics led to him having kind of volatile mood swings, hallucinations, memory lapses, and kind of depressive episodes and things like that. For all those reasons, he had to kind of leave the band in the late 60s, and The Madcap Laughs was actually his debut solo record. It came out in 1970. Basically, everybody who was involved in the making of this record kind of commented on the fact that the fruition of it was so difficult. It went through a number of different producers. The recording process was kind of on and off. Everybody who worked on it mentioned how difficult it was to work with Syd Barrett. He would show up to studio, but when he played the songs live in studio, he either kind of changed tempos, he changed arrangements of songs so that session players literally couldn't really play along with him. A lot of the extra instrumentation ended up being overdubbed in post because of that, even though it was intended to be a kind of like live band recording. Because of this, in the final cut of the record, they ended up keeping in a lot of the stops and starts and Syd kind of talking to the producer, and because of that you get a real strong sense of the frustration of this record, the volatile atmosphere that it was created in, and I think that contributes to the listening experience and the whole theme of the record, because you can kind of feel a very palpable sense of the atmosphere that this was created in. So the first song I want to share with you is called Octopus, and it was actually one of the album's singles when it first came out in 1970, and it was originally called Clowns and Jugglers. It was also called The Madcap Laughs at one point. Syd mentioned how this song was kind of kicking around in his head for about 6 months before he actually wrote it, and I think that's kind of indicative of how he kind of had a real sense of what he wanted to do with the song. And that's pretty evident because if you compare it to a lot of the other songs on the record, Octopus has a much more fuller arrangement and kind of sense of direction than maybe some of the other songs. He also talked about how the kind of structure of it and the sensibility of it was inspired by this old English folk song called Green Grow the Rushes O. And when you compare the two, that's really evident because it follows the same kind of cadence and the folky sing-along chorus. It does become kind of clear though that the song is a melting pot of different influences. For me, like linguistically, every time I hear the song, I always think of that Lewis Carroll poem, Jabberwocky. Yeah, the one that goes, "'Twas brillig and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the web." Obviously, Octopus isn't as nonsensical as that, or it doesn't have as many neologisms as that, but there's something that really fascinates me about the way Syd Barrett kind of created that internal logic in the narrative of the lyrics. And I think to me the song's always kind of been about people who are on the periphery of society, eccentrics and outcasts, and even people who are considered to be mentally unstable, and really how they're coming to a point where they're kind of succumbing to their own unique experience of the world, living that despite any kind of ridicule or judgment that they may receive from other people. So here is Octopus by Syd Barrett.
Drip to Adam, you see before you stand. Hey, oh, never be still. The old original favourite grand. Grasshoppers, green Bavarian band, and the tune they play is an Askin Five. So the trip to even ho, up, down, to and fro. You have no word. Please leave us here. Close our eyes to the octopus ride.
So Cate is a Welsh singer-songwriter, and Mug Museum is actually her third studio album. It was recorded in Los Angeles soon after she relocated there from Wales. She's kind of spoke of the record as being a reaction to her grandmother's death, and she kind of made a deliberate effort not to really saturate the record with grief and suffering, but instead she kind of focuses on really how one life affects another and how we're all part of this human chain. I also love a little detail of how the album title was coined by her roommate at the time, who said that her room was like a mug museum because of all the like empty teacups that she had lying around. And I just thought that was a really charming detail. So the first song of Cate LeBon's I want to share with you is Are You With Me Now? And there's such a classic groove and feel to this song that as soon as I heard it, I loved it. I think one of the kind of deliberate decisions that was made in terms of the production of this record was to keep things really stripped back. So if there was any additional instrumentation, it really had to be considered and absolutely necessary in order to improve the song for it to get added to the album. Especially for songs like Are You With Me Now, that shows, because they're so understated, and all the hooks and the melodies and the beauty of the songwriting really has space to breathe. And in that sense, the song is super palatable, and yet it's dealing with these massive themes of life after death and how the living have to go on, you know? So here is Are You With Me Now by Cate LeBon.
I have no reason to run. I see no reason. Are you with me now? Are you with me now? It's not impossible. It's not unfathomable. It's not unusual, baby.
The second song by Syd Barrett that I want to share with you guys is called No Good Tryin'. And it's actually one of my favorites from the record. It's just so dissonant. And even atonal at times, but it carries so much intrigue and personality. The lyrics of it, to me, carry so much loneliness and alienation, and Syd's really just emphasizing the degree to which there's a distance and a disconnect between people and their experiences, and that no matter how much you try to conceal the fact that that's terrifying, and no matter how much you try to really empathize with someone, you can never truly, absolutely see things from their perspective. It's always going to be an approximation, no matter how well-intentioned, you know? So what Syd's really saying is that it's no good trying to ignore that fact, you know? This is the way it is. So yeah, here is No Good Tryin' by Syd Barrett.
It's no good trying to place your hand where I can't see, because I understand that you're different from me. Yes, I can tell that you can't be what you pretend. and you're rocking backwards and you're rocking towards the red and yellow mane of a stallion horse.
So the next song by Cate that I want to share with you is called Duke. And I love the little distorted guitar hooks that pop up in this song. I think they're so delicious and they really give it an edge. As with almost all the songs on this record, the bass line and the bass tone is just so cool and unassuming, and it really just grounds everything. I also love the narrative of this song and how it's really kind of recollecting time spent with someone you love after they're gone, and really kind of realizing the subtle nobility and the strength that they live their lives with. I think that's something that transcends any kind of death, and it's something that really spurs on the living, you know, knowing that that life was lived so noble and strong and really in the moment. This song in particular also really showcases Le Bon's vocal range, because she hits that delicious high note at the end. This is Duke by Cate Le Bon.
Carried away, we studied entire empires. When you joke, we landscaped our legacies and thought about wars. I don't know how we have come to function so far away, drifting a dark atlas with the compass we've made, you know, it's our best work. I see you here,
Coffee, you're so good.